You just mentioned it's the Western mindset. It is. And you have to understand how young the Western mindset is, how young the Western world is. The old world understood the way that things should have been. And it wasn't until Westernization happened and other women were able to see the liberty that we had that they started lusting after what they considered our freedoms, not truly understanding the obstacles that those freedoms put in our path and the struggles we have because of those freedoms.
Welcome back to the Before You Do podcast with your host and favorite premarital coach, Verlyn Tarlton. And today we have back in the studio our friend Amani Jackson. Welcome back.
Hi.
Before we get started, we're going to do as we usually do, which is to take a moment of joyful gratitude to give thanks for whatever it is you give thanks for. I'm thankful for the beautiful weather we're having. It's just in the 80s, and I have been loving it. Give thanks. Okay, welcome back. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about submission versus inferiority. And we're going to go ahead and get started with Miss Amani Jackson, our friend. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Um, I think that there are multiple trains of thought about submission, right? And a lot of people immediately jump to submission, equating to inferiority. If I have to be submissive, that means my opinion doesn't matter as much. I don't matter as much. My goals and dreams don't matter. I'm putting my partner ahead of me and I'm going to be a doormat and I'm just here to be a supporting character in their show, basically. And then you have the opposite train of thought that understands submission and inferiority, just as they are two different words, they are also two different things, and they don't always equate to the same. Submission can be understanding that there's order, and in order for there to be order, there cannot be two people leading at the same time. A sports team does not have multiple coaches, doing the same job at once. A plane doesn't have two primary pilots. There's always one person who is more equipped, better equipped, who is designated to be in a position. And then they have their co pilots, assistant coaches who are equipped to be in that spot. And so submission is simply understanding that one of the parties is designated, ordained, trained, equipped to be in a role, and you are better equipped to be in the supporting role. I wonder why it's not submission equates support. Why doesn't submission equate partnership? Submission equates wealth generation. Why don't we have that mindset that if we are submissive, we're taking ourselves out of the role of opposition? Because if you're not submissive, which just means cooperative, I'm in harmony with my partner and I trust, again, we talked about this before. First of all, don't pick a partner you don't trust. So I trust my partner. That's why I picked them and I respect them. So I don't have a problem with the path they're leading me down. I can support them in leading me down this path of generating wealth for our family, getting our retirement together, educating our children properly, keeping our home safe, keeping our lifestyle healthy. You're a significant supporting partner because one person can't do it all by themselves. So what your partner is doing, you're doing, and what you're doing to carry the family forward.
That was excellent. I actually had written down in my notes cooperation. I don't know how it happened, but
Mhm.
it happened. We hear submission and we think subservient.
Mhm.
Or we think less than. We think, well, whatever he says, we better do. And it's this, he's going to tell me what to do and I better do it. No questions asked versus being, like you said, cooperative.
Mhm.
When you think about it, our men are already in a world, whether it's a workplace or they're entrepreneur, where they're always battling.
Yep.
They're always having to either prove something or they always have to have pushback. And so the one place where they should have peace, cooperation, working together, harmony should be at home with their women. And
Mhm.
I think that we've been so duped in society. I don't know if we can relate this to the feminist movement, right?
Mm,
Perhaps, but we just feel like that is such a dreaded word. We don't want to submit. I think
mm.
we equate that with just giving in with no thought whatsoever. I have no consideration. And I think that's the bad rap that
And
we
why
get. But
not also consider if you are his peace and you help the home stay the place of sanctuary for him, wouldn't that inspire him to protect it even more than he was already inspired to do so? You are securing your protection, your provision, the love that he has for you, the honor that he has for you by making sure that home is what it's supposed to be for him. And you are what you're supposed to be for him.
Mhm. What I have learned through my years of being married is there's actually great liberation in submission. It's not like you give over your full autonomy,
Mhm.
but it is very liberating when someone else can take the helm and make a final decision. What you said
Love.
about sports is perfect
Yep.
because you have one captain of the team.
Mhm.
You don't have two captains. If you go to work, you don't have 5 or 6 different bosses. And so it's not like it's so strange to us and it's so foreign. Wherever
Mm-mm.
we are, we're submitting, right? We're in that place. And at the workplace, women, when you want that paycheck, you got to submit. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's way worse. You're working with somebody that's not the person who loves you, not the
Yep.
person that's looking out for you. You could be working for an enemy, but the bottom
Mhm.
line is you can turn that on and off, right?
Mhm.
So why not do it at home with the person we have trusted?
Mhm. And the benefit you receive is limited. You're only getting your
Mm,
pay. You're only getting your health benefits. What your partner gives you is unlimited, and so I definitely wish that I had a competent partner in my life and I didn't have to be making decisions. Every time something goes wrong in my home or on our property or with my vehicles or anything, I am like, I wish I was not the person who had to make this phone call. But I am the only person, and so I'm the only one who has to do it every single time as many times as it comes, and so you're right, there is liberation in it, and we need to be thankful for that. We need to be thankful also that someone is going before us and making sure that the path is clear and safe to lead us forward. Our husbands they're a shield for us. They take all the hits. The good husbands, they take all the hits because they know it's their job. They love you enough to do it. They don't want you to feel any of the impact. It's so much. And then in that way, it appears as though we're the only ones being submissive, but don't our husbands also submit and serve us? It's not just you're always the only way being subservient. You are served. And the fact that you allow them to do what they do with your submission, in turn, and in many ways, they're submissive to you as a wife.
that's very true. We
Mhm.
submit to each other. And that's what it's about. It is about that balance. And what I see is a lot of times men are not looking to be what we think, oh, I'm
Mhm.
going to rule over you.
Yes.
They just want some cooperation and some peace. I'm telling you, just being in the internet streets or whatever, listening to my husband's conversation, not intentionally, but my husband is out. And so when he's talking, like men are looking for peace. They are foregoing the pretty face. They're foregoing what was known as the great figure and all these things. And
Um,
they are looking for peace. They don't want to be combating. They don't want to be fussing and fighting. And so I'm hearing all this talk about these men that can't find a wife.
wow, 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 sis, my good sis. These new age ones, like the ones born like 85 and younger, I don't know. I don't even know if they're the same species of man because these are some foolish young people. And honestly, they are prioritizing the superficial. And that is why they're having a hard time. They are. So things are really imbalanced, and scripturally so. Scripture told us that things would be a little wonky. Now, when we are speaking about the men with good minds, good upbringing, heads on their shoulders, yes, they are looking for peace. They want to come home to a house that's in order. Is that too much to ask? Don't you want to live in a house that's in order? So you're not just doing it for him, you're doing it for you too. They want to make sure their children still have um a heartbeat. Like, make sure those children are still alive when they come. Make sure there's some food because he's worked hard, he's hungry. These men are not asking for a lot. Make sure that the house isn't full of your girlfriends gossiping and laid all over the place so that he can come and decompress. You have all day to be with your girlfriends. When your husband is coming home, make sure the house is clear and he is at peace, you know? So these men are not looking for the most, not 90% of them. And so that is something that we really need to consider.
Yeah, and that probably is the age gap. I'm
Mhm.
referring to men that are in their 50s
Mhm.
and above, maybe late 40s, that
Mhm.
are saying, "You know what? I'm done with the pretty face. I
Mhm.
want some peace." Men are looking
Even
for someone to build with, not
Mhm.
to
Right.
fight against and tear down what they're trying
Right.
to do. And you can't build anything, even if you go on a project, right? You have a bunch of workers. You only have one foreman who's saying, "This
Mhm.
is what we're going to do." You've got an architect who said, "This is the plan." And so they're not looking to be throwing up stuff and let's see how it lands. They're looking
Right.
for order because they're trying to build something, you
Yeah.
know?
Even
And you
the even the ones under 50, you can still find some younger ones, but I think the key to it is having a true understanding of what a relationship is. I think that's what it is because if you have a pure definition of a relationship, then you do understand it's not just looking for superficial qualities. But for the people out here who are only looking for the superficial qualities and they are not going for what a relationship really is, they're the ones that are going to have more of a hard time understanding submission because can I really trust myself to submit to you if you're only trying to deal with me because I'm pretty? I can't really because you really don't have my best interest at heart. You don't even really know me. You just
Mhm.
know that I'm pretty, and you're gonna serve that as long as I stay pretty. Because what happens when you no longer find me pretty? What about if I age? What about if something happens to me? So, yeah, this inferiority aspect of it, again, it all boils back down to the key thing we talk about every time you and I have this conversation. The primary thing is making sure you have the right partner. If you don't have a partner who loves you and respects you and is truly looking for your well being, no topic that we cover for this will benefit you because that person isn't coming from a genuine space. They're not serving you the right way. So all of it's out the door if it's not the right one.
And I'll tell you something else you brought up, inferiority. Before talking about being able to submit, and we've
Mhm.
had this conversation about all the inner work you have to do first, because if you're already feeling some kind of way about yourself and you
Mhm.
feel within yourself inferior, right?
Yep.
You're going to bring that thought process, that attitude into a marriage. And so you can have someone with the best intention that's not trying to rule over you with this iron fist, but because you have not dealt with these inferiority issues within yourself, everything looks like, hey, he's doing this, he's doing the
Mhm.
most, and you're feeling some kind of way because you're projecting that. It may not even be
Mhm.
him. And so that goes back to doing the work on self. Before you say, I do, you got to do that inner work.
Do you know how heartbreaking it is to self-sabotage your
Mm,
happy ending?
mm.
What? That's a mess. Had it in the palm of your hand and sabotaged.
Yeah, but it's a real thing if it hasn't been dealt with. It's like, before you say I do, dealing with this, you got to find where that comes from
Mhm.
so that once you do get married, it won't be some form of trigger. It could have been, someone telling you all your life in your childhood, you're not going to amount to anything. You don't have any talents. You don't have this. And so you're hearing all this negative talk. and then that has to be dealt with. Or let's say you have an overbearing father in your life who's just like, shut up. You just tell him what to do, don't say anything. All of these things will begin to trigger. And so, yeah, it's really important that we come up with the mindset of we are who we are. We are the creation of the Almighty, and know who we are so that when we come up under someone to support, we don't have these complexes. That's huge.
Let me tell you, that self-work you just talked about and understanding your partner on either ends, their triggers and stuff. I just had a situation. I just had a situation. Because, I'm very affectionate, very loving, and I pour myself into the people around me. And I was literally just told that it was too much for someone. They needed me to not be so expressive. And I said, now who in the world would want you to diminish the love you give them? That was so shocking to me. I just couldn't understand. But then I had to sit back and think about that person's trauma. And they didn't know how to receive. They didn't know how to receive it because they hadn't had a history of getting it. So they couldn't process it well. And so if you're with someone and they've had trauma with authority in their lives, people have abused the authority. So looking at you as a husband, as an authoritative figure, they're not looking at you as this is my protector, my provider. They're only looking like this is someone above me. This is going to be abusive at some point. This person is going to misuse this authority I'm giving them, and it's going to be to my detriment. There's no way it could be 100% beneficial. And then it's going to be war that puts them in fight or flight. Or for the husband, when he's looking at a woman, he can be like, I've been in this position before, and women only come to take. She's just sitting here and being quiet because I'm paying her bills right now, but there's no genuine love here in this relationship. That can become a trigger. So that work and knowing who your partner is and what they've been through. Make sure, we talked about this before, make sure you have a relationship with those friends and family, because there can be things that people don't divulge because they don't want to miss out on that opportunity. You need to make sure you understand who that person really, really is, because you'll be pouring in and investing, and a year, 2 years down the line, not understanding why this person is glitching, and you've hit some triggers and they don't even know that they're being triggered and you have no idea. Now that's sabotage.
I did not grow up in a home with a father. And so I did not have that male authority or that male figure. My father was around or whatever, but he was not in the home with us. And so all I had was my mom. And
Mhm.
so I know that to try to transition where you have not been under male authority at all, maybe a male teacher here and there, but I'm saying someone in the home. I was fortunate because I saw it in my church, and we were in
Mhm.
church Sunday and Thursday and Wednesday and Sunday evening. So I saw it a lot. But for many who don't have that, it's like, you ain't gonna tell me what to do because you're not used to an authority figure or a male figure, whether it's an uncle or grandfather. And so the whole idea of submitting, that's like, foreign. You didn't see it with your dad, and you may not have seen it because you didn't have your mother and father in the home. So she may have moved in a very masculine way because she was doing the controlling and all of that. And so that's another whole issue, again, that has to be dealt with before, so you won't be bringing what it is you didn't know. It's all about
Mhm.
knowledge, and you got to learn it, and then you got to
Yeah.
live it before you can actually be it. And so that's something that also has to be looked at.
What is male authority?
Mhm.
Like, what is it? If you've never had it, you've never seen it, you don't even know what it is to respond to it. Right? Because it's completely unfamiliar to you. You don't know how you should respond to it, what parts of it you should respond to, because should you respond to all of it? Is there a place for you to come and interact with every aspect of male authority? No, I don't think a woman needs to respond to every aspect of male authority. What are these parameters? So when we think about submission, it's also very important to have an open, honest conversation with your partner because not all relationships look the same. Even if every woman who was married didn't work and her husband provided for her, the marriages would still look different. Like, what does this husband expect? What is comfortable and acceptable for this wife? So even though you hear the word submission and inferiority, you still have a voice. You're not inferior. You're a partner, and things still have to be realistic and doable for you, or the marriage is going to fail. If he says, I need to come home to three additional women at the house every night in bed waiting for me, and I need a feast, a table fit for a king, but I am a blue collar worker and I don't know how you're going to make this happen. These are not realistic expectations, or they don't fit what you can provide in your role. So we need clear definitions of what we're doing, what we're submitting to, and how we are managing that submission.
Mhm. I have to find a way to redefine submission or help our sisters along because
Mhm,
they see that as such a bad word. And it's like, no, it's not. Look at every facet of your life. And I guarantee you, it's somewhere where you are already submitting. You
mhm,
submit to the landlord if you're renting. If you're buying, you submit to the mortgage company, the light everybody in every aspect of life has someone that they submit to. What does it mean? Again, cooperate. We let
mhm,
you live in this house as long as you pay the taxes. If you don't
mhm,
cooperate, we're going to take the house. Same
mhm.
thing with the job. All of these things. So it's not so out of our league. It's just when it comes to this male female relationship, it's like it's almost like it's a mine, just put out
Mhm,
there for us to step on so we won't be protected, so that we're always divided and we're always
mhm.
fighting one another instead of cooperating and building together. But that's why we have these
Yeah.
conversations, right?
I think also a switch goes off when we're not as open-minded as we need to be, and when we hear that, we think it's archaic. We're so progressed, we're so modern, we're so educated now. We go to school now, we get degrees, we get jobs now. How dare someone think I need to submit to anyone when I'm working too and I'm bringing home income if that's the agreement in my house? Why? I'm an equal, contributing partner in this marriage. And again, submission does not mean you're not an equal party, but they think that it switches in their head. This is when women needed to submit, when they didn't have choices, when they couldn't do things for themselves. They related to, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be like those African women whose husbands just run all over them and have these multiple tribal wives all over these villages. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be like these Arab women who can't go to school, and are in the house and their husbands do whatever. Our minds just flake when we hear the word submission and we relate it to all of these situations. You can be an independent woman, you can be the dominant party in your household and still have issues. Your independence doesn't guarantee you a happy or successful marriage. It actually invites a little more chaos because that takes things out of natural order, and there's no priority, there's no scriptural priority either. So us taking those stereotypes out also are going to assist. It does not mean you are unequal in your relationship.
That's right. It just means you can cooperate.
Mhm.
Just cooperate and say, yep, let's work together. That's the only way anything gets done anyway. Okay, well, we won't belabor the point. Hopefully, this is something that will be enlightening and will help bridge the gap in our relationships, in our culture, because you mentioned, Arabs and people overseas. It's this Western mindset
Mm,
that we need to really get it together so we
yeah,
can get back together, so we can begin building family again and build wealth again amongst
yeah.
ourselves. So,
And I just wanted to say this last part, belaboring or not, but when you just mentioned it's the Western mindset, it is. And you have to understand how young the Western mindset is, how young the Western world is. The old world, understood the way that things should have been. And it wasn't until Westernization happened and other women were able to see the liberty that we had, that they started lusting after what they considered our freedoms, not truly understanding the obstacles that those freedoms put in our path and the struggles we have because of those freedoms. So it's always easy to covet something that you see other people enjoying without really understanding the full picture of it, and what you will then be at a deficit with because you stepped outside of that to receive what you have now, which is what we call the grass ain't always greener on the other side. Right. And so, also with us being such a young culture, we're like children. We think we know it all. You know, we're new. We're like, oh, we know what we're doing, and we don't. We have yet to live enough, to learn enough, to have enough history behind us to see all of our mistakes. And so that's also why you can't be fully trusting in the Western way of things, because we're young.
Well, on that note, we can just end this perfect. That's a perfect segue into it. Amani, if someone wants to reach you,
Oof,
how can they reach you? And
don't
I'm
know.
gonna oh goodness, okay. Maybe I'll recant that statement.
They can always email me at Amani, Amani, at starpointpub.com, the email for the publishing company. I'm more than happy to talk about anything, the publishing industry, writing your books, speaking engagements, submission, you know, whatever it is, I'm always an open ear.
That's good stuff. Please visit my website at verlyntarlton.com. That's V
Yeah.
like Victor, ERLYN TARLTON.com. There you're going to find lots of freebies, including my digital magazine. All right. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you know someone who's either engaged on a dating scene or even newlywed, make sure you share this podcast. They say sharing is caring.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say? Any parting words, Amani?
Nope, head over to that website. Verlyn has a new book out for, I believe, our young men, correct?
Yes, that is true. Yeah,
Yeah, she
showing our
has the book.
sons the righteous path.
Right,
Yes,
so that
thank you.
when it's time for a woman to submit to them, they are the right type of men to submit to. She has some amazing children. And so this woman is putting men out in the world that your daughters would be safe dating and safe marrying. And it's important that you grab this book so that if you need that support, if you're a single mother, a single father, or just the world is getting more of your child's attention than you are, we need all the support we can get. It's detrimental and it's irresponsible to be raising children that need to marry each other, and we're not making sure that they are safe spaces for each other. It's our responsibility to raise these children right so that they don't create dysfunctional families and the cycle continues. We got to do our job. Thank you for that
Absolutely.
resource, Carolyn.
Absolutely. You're welcome. And thank you for the reminder. Until next week, may you experience extraordinary love. Bye for now.
Abundantly.
Yes.